Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Miami Dolphins offensive line grading and film review. Last week's performance against the Colts was the best so far for the Dolphins, and against the Cardinals with a very beat up defensive line, we should have expected more of the same. And they delivered once again. The 8.92 grade for this week is just slightly higher than last week's grade, but it's still their highest mark of the season. Only one player set a new high for their individual grade this season, but once again, every player was above both their individual average as well as the unit's season average. The lowest graded lineman this week was Liam Ikenberg. Liam continues to be the scapegoat for many fans who jump to blame anything they can on him. You can go back on the timeline when Achane was tackled and got up limping, and there was a rush of fans to blame Liam for falling on Achane and possibly causing serious injury. But if you actually go back and watch it, Liam didn't even contact Achane's lower body and certainly had nothing at all to do with that injury. It's just those type of things that are head scratching when it comes to Eichenberg, especially when Liam did have a couple of negative plays that could have warranted the negative attention, but don't seem to be mentioned at all. I did have two plays marked as zero for Eichenberg. One was a early pin and pull to Jalen Wright that I shared on my X timeline, and here's the other one. This is going to be a outside zone to the right. And as you can see here, we've got Liam Eichenberg at right guard, and he's going to be stepping right, getting into solid position here, but then he gets tossed aside, and that defender, along with the one that Julian Hill was blocking, are able to get in and affect that play. And then, even though I know that it's tough to give Liam credit, here's another outside zone to the right, but this time he's able to get lots of movement here. Brewer does a solid job of straining through that block and keeping that nose tackle from sliding off to make that play. But the real difference in this being a positive play is Eichenberg and the way that he's able to wash out the defense to that side and widen that lane. All right, and then we're gonna have Rob Jones, who has a identical overall grade to Eichenberg, but he got there a little different. I actually didn't have any plays where I marked Rob Jones with a zero, but I did have several where he received half credit. After a slow start to the season, Jones has returned to his consistent but limited form. And that's what we're going to see in our one clip that I pulled for Robert Jones here. He's here at left guard, and on this play, he's going to be getting out on a screen. And you can see on this play, this isn't a play that we're going to put on a highlight reel for Jones or anything like that, but this isn't exactly a easy block to be able to get out here in space and to get connected to a linebacker or defensive back type player. But Jones is able to do that on this play. Um, he's not the same caliber of a Terron Armstead or Austin Jackson when it comes to that. But when his technique is right, when he gets his feet settled down, he can still be effective in these type of roles. He's just never going to be a player that's going to blow you out of the water when you're watching him on Sundays. And then making an early appearance in the grades this week is Terron Armstead at 9.07. And there's nothing at all wrong with that grade. It just means that there's a couple of other guys that came out slightly ahead. And just one play for Armstead here. And this is going to be a counter solid where Julian Hill is coming across the formation. And then Janu Smith is going to lead up through the hole. And we're going to be looking at Terron Armstead here at left tackle. And similar to the positive play that we looked at for Eichenberg earlier, the difference in the play here is that Terron Armstead is able to get on that block. He's heavy with that left hand, and he's able to get movement on that defensive end. And that's what creates the lane that even though Julian Hill isn't getting a huge block and a lot of movement, it doesn't even stay attached all that well. But because of the space that's created by that down block from Armstead, that's what allows this play to be successful. Next, we got Aaron Brewer coming in at 9.38. Like Jones, I didn't have a single 0 graded play for Brewer, and just a couple of partial graded plays. All right, so in our film review for Brewer, Brewer is obviously playing center here, and we're going to get motion from Ingold over, which is going to pull the linebackers over. I want you to also keep an eye on this linebacker here, because that's the one that Mostert's going to be reading on this play. So this is duo to the right. There's our motion, linebacker shift. Mostert is going to read that linebacker, and as you can see, he jumps over to the right side. So that's an automatic read for Mostert to go to the left. And where that becomes important is that when you're watching Aaron Brewer here, he's blocking back and helping Jones, and you can see that he takes this defensive tackle here that Jones is blocking and basically throws him out of the club, and that's why a inside power run ends up with a massive hole for Mostert to run through. All right, and then our other one for Brewer is going to be him at center here, and this is going to be the screen pass to Achane that was a touchdown. And as you can see, Brewer does a good job of getting out in space and getting number 34, not being hesitant there, takes him into the end zone where he doesn't even have a chance to try to make that tackle. One other thing to watch on this play, not a big detail here, but a minor one. If you watch Liam Ikenberg here, and just watch the way that not a big block there, but it's a little underrated in the sense that he's not going to get any chance of getting called for a hold there, but it's still a very effective technique just to make sure that number 91 doesn't make it back into that play. And through process of elimination, Austin Jackson comes in as the highest graded player of the week at 9.26, and that surpasses his previous individual game high of 9.20 that was back in week 3. I actually did have one negative graded play for Jackson. However, the way my grading works is that every snap doesn't necessarily get graded. So on a pass play where a lineman doesn't block anyone, that play doesn't get counted or graded, and tackles don't run into that as much as interior linemen, and you'll see a higher variance in plays graded in weeks where the team runs more screens. So that's why Jackson may have a half point more if you're looking at the count of negative plays compared to Brewer, but Jackson's higher volume of graded plays can make a small difference. All right, so just a couple of positive plays here for Austin Jackson. This first one's going to be a outside zone to the left. So Jackson's going to be trying to cut off number 91. And you can see here that Achane ends up cutting this back in. And yes, I understand that Austin Jackson ends up on the ground at the end of this play, but you got to take into account how difficult of a block that is to be able to get to a guy that's a gap over, try to completely stop your momentum and stop him as well. So the progress that he made in slowing number 91 down is the biggest reason, in addition to a solid effort from Brewer to continue running that guy down the line. But Jackson being able to seal the backside of that is the reason that this play is, a 5-yard gain instead of being, no gain at all. All right, then our other play where I wanted to highlight Jackson is going to be, this is one of the few times that Miami runs kind of a true power here. You're going to have Ingold coming over, kicking out that defensive end. Julian Hill is going down, but he's really going for that linebacker. And then you got Rob Jones looping around, and he's getting to the linebacker there. Does a good job getting on the body of the linebacker. But the big thing in this play is Jackson, and look at the way that he's going to take number 91 and get a hold of him and just wash him down the whole way through there, so that as soon as Julian Hill attaches on his guy, Ingold doesn't need to have a big block here. You can see the way that lane is just opening up because Jackson is way down there, which creates space for HN to be able to read the block from Jones and get upfield. All right, here's a chart that I had shared a few weeks ago that shows the trend of the grades over the course of the season. As you can see, there were a few rough weeks that really circled around some injuries from Armstead and Jones, but things continue to trend upward for this group. In their week 2 matchup versus the Bills, the line was okay, but not the level it has been for the past 2 weeks. It's going to be a revealing week for the offensive line to see how they perform against the Bills in the rematch to find out whether they truly are turning the corner from moving from okay to very good, or whether they've just benefited from some favorable matchups recently. That's going to wrap it up for this week. As always, leave a comment below or come find me on X. If you want to see more Dolphins content from me, look for the Scouting Combine podcast on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, where I co-host with Hassan Patel. And I'll talk to you guys next week.